Today, we're going to be discussing my most anticipated games for the rest of 2024 and why I haven't played Elden Ring yet. This is the Late Night Gamer podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to the Late Night Gamer podcast. My name is Welchy and today we are going to be discussing my most anticipated games for the rest of 2024. Before we get into that, I do want to go through some housekeeping. Thank you to everyone who has supported the podcast so far, whether that be listening in your favourite service or watching on YouTube or messaging me with your feedback. I really appreciate every single interaction. If you are new here, I would love it if you could follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast service. It's currently available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Amazon Music and Pocket Casts. And of course, it is now available as a video in video format on YouTube. If you can also leave a rating, that would be hugely appreciated. And of course, any feedback would be very welcome. If you would like to follow me on social media, then you can find me on Twitter or X, Instagram and Threads on the handles at WelchyTV_ or at the LNG pod. So that's at WelchyTV_ or at the LNG pod. Either or, whatever you fancy. I will be active on both. Feel free to get in touch with me through these platforms on all YouTube comments for any feedback or any questions you want to ask. You can also, if you're using Spotify for the podcast, there will always be a place where you can answer a question on there and also answer a poll. So you can use that feature as well for future episodes. So let's get straight into it. So before I go into the topic of the week, which as I said will be my most anticipated games for the rest of the year, first I want to do a fun discussion topic. And this week, many of you will have known that Elden Ring have released their DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. So if you're an Elden Ring fan, I'm sure you already know. If you didn't, then it doesn't matter. It's not one for me. As you can tell from what we're about to discuss, I've never played Elden Ring. Why is that? Why have I not played one of the most highly reviewed games of all time? I think it averages like a 97 on Metacritic. It sold 20 million or more copies, and it's just one of the best games critically and sales-wise in the last decade, I guess. Maybe since Zelda Breath of the Wild has a game had this much hype and love and passion for it. So why haven't I played it is the big question I'm going to answer today, and that is because it's too hard. It's not just that, it's quite a lot more complicated than that, but that is really the crux of it, is the difficulty. Now, I'm all for difficult games. I like I'm trying to think of a difficult game that I've played. I beat Sifu. Sifu is a difficult game, or was a difficult game. They've now added in difficulty levels, so you can do it on easy. But when that game first came out, when I platinumed it, it was a difficult game. I think most people will agree with that. Maybe not the Elden Ring kind of level, but it was difficult, particularly to platinum it. So why was I able to do that, but not Elden Ring? There's something about the Souls-like formula which just bugs me, and I think a lot of it is to do with going through loads of enemies, getting to a boss fight, dying, and then having to go all the way back and then go through those same enemies again before you even get to the boss fight. And then you might not even get to the boss, you might die again before getting to that boss, then you've got to go back again and try again. And that just grinds my gears a bit. I think it's difficult to say that because I actually like it in Star Wars. Star Wars, Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order has the same mechanic where you go through the world, defeating enemies, but if you die, you go back to your last save point or your last... on Star Wars, it's called a rest point. It's like a rest-in area. I think in Dark Souls, it's a fire or a campfire, bonfire, something like that, which is similar on Bloodborne from memory. I don't know what it is in Elden Ring, but yeah, you go back and then you have to... Those enemies respawn. I like it in Star Wars because Star Wars isn't as difficult. Getting through the enemies is not as difficult, and the boss fights aren't as difficult. That being said, it is still there, that mechanic is still there, and I don't mind it. So maybe I have to push past that in the Elden Ring. But it's not just that, it's also time. Time, difficulty and time. Time being it takes a lot of time to get through these games. As I said, you could spend an hour trying to get to this boss, die, then have to do it all again. And I just don't have the time to do that these days. As some of my listeners will know, but you all will find out now, I've got 2 children at home, so my time for gaming is much more limited than it used to be, and it's say an hour, maybe an hour and a half a night, if I'm lucky 2, and that's not every night. I tend not to play as much on work nights, if at all. If I've got work the next day, that means. So yeah, I don't get hardly as much time as I used to. Do I want to spend that time, that short amount of time, on a game like Elden Ring or Bloodborne or Dark Souls, whatever, any Souls-like game, when I could spend all of it basically making no progression at all? Now, that's a big factor, and the reason I was able to do it on Star Wars is because, again, it's not as difficult. I felt like I was actually progressing and getting somewhere every night that I played. So that's one of the big reasons. It's a massive reason. But I'm kind of contradicting myself here, because I have played and beaten Lies of P. Now, Lies of P is not made by From Software. It's not made by the same people that make Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. But it's heavily influenced. It is basically a Souls-like game, but maybe from a different developer. I cannot remember the name from me right now, which I apologize. But yeah, Lies of P, same concept. You go around killing enemies. If you die, you go back. And it is basically Dark Souls, but in Pinocchio form. It's loosely based around, not loosely, it's based around Pinocchio, characters and whatnot. But I played and beat that. I played the whole way through that and beat that game. So why can I not play Elden Ring? Now, sorry, I just hit my mic, so you might have heard a noise there. But part of the reason why is, and I figured this out, is that in Lies of P, when you go into a boss fight, you can actually summon an NPC character to come and help you. They're not very good all the time, but they can help quite a lot. They can take a lot of the aggro away from that boss, focus it on that NPC, so you've got time to recover, or you've got time to do some damage to that boss. I would not have been able to beat that game without the NPCs. I can guarantee you that. Maybe I would have been able to, but I wouldn't have actually bothered. I wouldn't have had the time. I would have died a lot more. Don't get me wrong, there were some boss fights where I did really struggle, even with the NPC. There's the one near the end of the game, for anyone that's played it. It's like the second to last boss fight or third to last boss fight. You're on like a bridge, and this guy's got like this electric sword, and he is insane. And he really, really beat me up, but I managed to get through him eventually. But I wouldn't have got that far if it wasn't for that NPC feature. I know you can play some of these games in co-op, like Bloodborne and I believe Dark Souls you can play co-op, and actually Elden Ring, I think. But I don't always have time to play co-op. I might not always be on at the same time as my friends are on. Especially now, most of my gaming time is quite late at night. A lot of people will go to bed at that time, so that's not really always an option for me. So the NPC feature, maybe Elden Ring has that. I don't actually know. Someone can tell me that it does, and then maybe I don't really have a reason not to try it. But yeah, I persevered with Lies of P and did it. So really, should I give Elden Ring a go? I don't know. I've heard fantastic things about it, of course, but it scares me, the size of it. It's much bigger than anything that they've ever done. It's like an open world version. I don't want to have to follow a guide all the time. That bugs me. Lies of P, I didn't have to. I mean, don't get me wrong, I Googled certain things every now and then, but I wasn't following a guide every minute saying, oh, now go here, then do this, and if you have this, then you can get that. That's not how I like to play my games. And don't get me wrong, I do it for trophy hunting and stuff like that, but even then it's not following the guide constantly. So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for me to dip my toe into Elden Ring, just go in and see what happens. I'm still scared to do it just because of how difficult I'm expecting it to be. Maybe it won't even be that difficult. Maybe if I Google the best build to have to make it easier, maybe I'll enjoy it. But there's that part of me thinking in the back of my head, do I really want to spend my hour tonight playing Elden Ring when I could play something like Mortal Kombat or FIFA or, I don't know, a new campaign, a new story game, a new game that comes out, anything, Star Wars, whatever, that I'm more likely to enjoy and use my time. So let's leave it there. I may may jump into Elden Ring at some point, or maybe I should go into something like Bloodborne first. I've dipped my toe into Bloodborne quite a few times. I think I've started that game at least 3 times, and there's at least one time where I got like past Father Gascoigne, but not much further than that. And I enjoy that game for what it is in terms of the atmosphere of Bloodborne. But again, I just used to hate dying and having to start again, dying and starting again. It's just something about that mechanic, and I get why people like that challenge. I really do get why people like that challenge. But for me, there's just something about it that it just grinds my gears, and it's silly because I like it on Star Wars. I don't like it. That's actually a bad thing to say. I don't play Star Wars thinking I love that mechanic. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't mind it. It's fun having enemies to always beat, but that mechanic isn't what's bringing me back. It's the actual gameplay and the story, the actual lightsaber gameplay, which is bringing me in, not that particular respawn mechanic at all. So I wouldn't say I like that thing, but I can deal with it more in a Star Wars Jedi game. So yeah, maybe I dip my toe into Bloodborne again for the 4th time, or maybe I'll just go straight into Elden Ring. Let me know what you guys think. Have you played Elden Ring? What do you think? Am I wrong? Is Elden Ring easier than the other ones, or is it more approachable? Should I dip my toe in, or is everything I said today basically enough to be like, actually, no, it's probably not for me? That's how I feel, but then I also feel like I'm getting a serious FOMO when everyone's just talking about how good Elden Ring is. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Have you played Elden Ring? Do you like it? Or are you the same as me? Do you struggle with it because of the time commitment, or hate that mechanic of dying and starting again? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Spotify comments, or tweet me, Instagram me, whatever. But yeah, for now, let's jump in to topic of the week. Topic of the week. Okay, so my most anticipated games of 2024, or the rest of 2024, I should say. I'm recording this on the 22nd of June. By the time you see it, it'll be the 25th, I think, if you watch it the day it comes out or listen to it. We're basically halfway through the year. There's not many days left in June. We're halfway through the year, and one half to go. And I want to look at the games coming out for that second half of the year, and which ones I am most anticipating, which ones I'm most likely to buy. I won't probably buy all of these. Actually, most of these I won't have to. If actually looking at a list, I think there's only like one to buy here. I'm not going to mention EAFC 25 or anything that I always buy every year. Well, actually, it's just EA or FIFA. I'm going to call it FIFA here, because I always get that and I always anticipate that. This is more, not all of them, but one-off games that are coming out that I'm looking forward to. And let's start with one that I don't know too much about, and it's called Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. It was shown off at the Xbox Game Showcase recently. It's coming to Game Pass on the 18th of July, so I don't have to pay for it. It's the kind of game where if it wasn't coming to a service like that, I definitely wouldn't be buying on day one. It's something that I would wait for a sale or wait for it to come to the service, either PS Plus or Xbox. But because it's coming, I'm actually quite looking forward to it. I've watched the trailer. It looks pretty cool. This is actually, just going back to the Elden Ring thing, they're calling it a Souls Light. So interesting to see what that is. Is it just some of the Souls mechanics? It's probably going to be the ones I don't like, but we'll see. I'm always willing to give it a try. I should also go back and mention that Lies of P I only played because it was on Game Pass, so I wouldn't have bought it because it's a Souls-like game. So yeah, this game looks cool. The gameplay looks interesting. You've got like a little fox companion that goes with you, and it seems like you're killing gods. So it all sounds interesting. I'm going to give it a go. Whether I finish it as a Souls-like game, who knows? But that's one to look out for me. Next is a much bigger game, and probably the only game on this list I think that I have to buy if I want to get it. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to. It's Star Wars Outlaws. Most of my Star Wars content that I consume is actually from video games, whether that be Battlefront 2, the Jedi game, Survivor, and Fallen Order. And when I say Battlefront, I mean the recent ones. I never played the Star Wars games back when I was a kid, the PS2 ones or whatever, PS1 ones. I mainly play the ones now. And Star Wars Outlaws is, again, more Star Wars that looks really cool. The gameplay looks really good, and having listened to some previews about the game, apparently it actually plays better than it looks, which is interesting because I think it looks okay. But if they're saying it actually plays a lot better than it looks, then it sounds like a winner to me. The only thing I am worried about is that it's a Ubisoft game. I don't really tend to play Ubisoft games anymore. I can't remember the last one that I would have played. I mean, X Defiant doesn't count as a multiplayer shooter, but obviously Splinter Cell back in the day. But when I say Ubisoft games, they're all kind of tend to now be these massive open world checklist games. Go here, check that off the list, check that off the list, check that off the list. It almost feels like a lot of bloat. I'm hoping this won't be that. From what I've seen on the gameplay previews and the trailers, it doesn't look like it will be. So fingers crossed it won't. This may be one that I wait for reviews and then get it after. Maybe not a day one purchase. It's actually coming out like 5 days before I go on holiday. So it probably is more sensible for me to hold back, wait for a sale and then get it later in the year. But it looks really good. I'm hoping it's not going to be a typical Ubisoft game and it'd be one that I actually like. Saying that, I really liked Watch Dogs 1 and 2 and they're Ubisoft games. So maybe I need to give Ubisoft more of a chance. But for example, I have not put Assassin's Creed Shadows on this list because as cool as everyone's saying it looks, it's just not for me. So moving on, Quidditch Champions. Quidditch Champions, as the title suggests, is a Quidditch game. Harry Potter Quidditch game. Coming out September 3rd. This one's actually going to be free on PS Plus, I believe. And for a month, so as long as you redeem it in time, it's yours for free. I assume it's coming everywhere else for a cost. Really excited for this one. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Harry Potter fan in the world by any means, but I do really enjoy Harry Potter. And I was a bit gutted when Hogwarts Legacy didn't have Quidditch. But then having played Hogwarts Legacy, the flying mechanics wasn't that great for me. I found it real struggle to fly around on the broom or on a I was about to say hippogriff. So maybe Quidditch wasn't best for them. Maybe that's why they didn't add it, because they couldn't really get it to work on that game. But I'm hoping this Quidditch Champions games can make it feel good to play. I really enjoyed the Quidditch game back on PS2. I think it's called Quidditch World Cup. Really enjoyed that for the time. I can't imagine it holds up well now, but I enjoyed it at a time, and I'm hopeful for this game. I'm not expecting it to set the world on fire, but I'm definitely hopeful. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of battle passes and microtransactions and things to buy, but I'm hoping it won't be too heavy on that. But it's Harry Potter. People are going to buy it, so maybe they should for financial reasons. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. Again, this comes out the day before I go on holiday, I believe. Maybe a couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 days before. I can't remember. But yeah, I will definitely be trying this one out, even if it's when I'm back from holiday. But definitely excited for that one. Next one is Stalker 2. Another one I'm not too familiar with or know too much about. I know it's been delayed a lot, but it's finally coming this year, September 5th, to Game Pass. As I said, I don't know too much, but whenever I see a trailer, it looks interesting. The world looks interesting, the story looks interesting, but graphically it looks fantastic. So I'm going to check it out. I'm not expecting this one to blow me away, but hopefully it will. But I'm not expecting it to. It's just something I've been looking forward to since it was announced, just from the trailers they've released. So finally excited to get my hands on it this year. And the next big one, and I can't believe I'm saying this. If you would have asked me, 6 months ago, whenever, if I'd be excited for Call of Duty, I would have said no. But I actually am this year. And it's coming October 25th to Game Pass, so I don't have to buy it, which is a big draw here. And it's my first Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2019. So what's that? 5 years I've not played a Call of Duty game. I've dipped into Warzone. And when I say dipped, I mean dipped. I really don't like Warzone at all. I actually think, maybe that's a topic for another day, but I actually think it's the worst Battle Royale game I've ever played personally. But anyway, I'm not a fan of Battle Royales, so I'm probably not the expert to talk about that. Black Ops 6, though, I'm excited for. It's had the longest development time for a Call of Duty since probably Call of Duty 4 back in the day. It's had 4 years development time. I think they typically had 3. This one's had 4. So they have a lot of time to do this one. They're bringing back the old multiplayer prestige system, which is exciting for me. I can't lie, I didn't really know they got rid of it because I haven't played them in 5 years. Although I don't think they had it in Modern Warfare 2019. I can't remember because I didn't play it that much. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to try out the new movement system they seem to have where you could sprint backwards and sideways. Excited to get deep into the multiplayer and excited for the campaign. Call of Duty campaigns are typically quite good. I've heard bad things about the recent one, but I really enjoyed the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign. It was by far the best thing about that game for me. So I'm excited to try out this one. If it wasn't on Game Pass, I wouldn't be getting it. As simple as that. It's because I fell out of love with Call of Duty a long time ago, clearly. But it's free, so I'm definitely willing to give it a go. And because of that, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see if they can get me back in, because before 2019, I played a lot of Call of Duty, from Call of Duty 4 back in the day all the way to then. It was a staple in my catalogue, but not anymore. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they can bring me back in. And every year from now on, it'll be on Game Pass, so I can always try it at least every year. I still want them to add all the old games, though, to Game Pass. They need to bring them back. They need to make it so I can play Black Ops, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, World at War, Call of Duty 4, whatever, all of them on Game Pass. They need to do that, and that will be huge for me and obviously the world, really, to be honest. Everyone wants that to happen. But I was really thought we'd have had that by now. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Next on my list is a game which doesn't have a date yet, but it's supposed to be coming out this year, and that's Avowed. Again, Game Pass. Excited for this one. It's from Obsidian, a new RPG from Obsidian. Their last game, Outer Worlds, not to be confused with Outer Wilds, which I know a lot of you really enjoy. I'm looking at a certain few of you. Yeah, Outer Worlds was an RPG by Obsidian. I enjoyed what I played of that. It's basically like Fallout but in space, that game, which was fun. I didn't beat it or anything. Every time with Fallout kind of games, I kind of get to a point and stop because I just get either bored or something else comes out. This one probably will happen again, I can't lie, but I'm still excited for it. From what we've seen, it looks cool, it looks interesting. It's going to be on Unreal Engine 5, so I'm expecting it to look fantastic. I'm not expecting a 10 out of 10 experience at all, but I am hoping for some fun gameplay, a fun story to follow, and something to tide me over between games maybe, or something to keep coming back to every now and then. But yeah, I mean, last year I beat Starfield, a massive open world RPG from Bethesda. There's no reason why I can't get into this one. If anything, I can't say that because I did enjoy Starfield, but there's a good chance this one plays better than Starfield. It's more fun to actually play than Starfield. So don't get me wrong, there's a good chance this could be fantastic, and I'm really hopeful it will be. We just need a date now. I think the rumours were November, which would be okay. It comes out after Call of Duty. Probably be a good time for it to come out. But then the next game on my list is Indiana Jones. Again, with no date. Where is that going to fall? Xbox don't want it to fall too close to Avowed. I'm guessing it's going to be December. If Avowed come out early November and then Indiana Jones early December, it would kind of make sense. Unless one of them's ready earlier and they can make it October, late November, maybe. But yeah, Indiana Jones is probably was my most anticipated game for the year, because it's Xbox's big game this year for me. It's Starfield last year. This year it's Indiana Jones, a big story-driven game. Obviously a big IP. I don't think it's as big as people think it is. It used to be huge back in the day, but I don't think it did very well when it came out recently in the cinema last year. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I was a little bit disappointed with their last. I think I mentioned this in my first podcast. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. How the most recent showcase basically only showed off a cutscene. I wanted more gameplay. I want to see more gameplay. So I'm still not convinced that the game's actually going to be fun to play, but I'm hopeful. I'm really hoping this is going to be a big one for Xbox, a big success. They need this kind of, I mean, it's not third person, but this big action adventure game on their system. yes, they got Gears of War, which is one of my favorite games ever, but they've got Halo, which is a good first-person shooter, Forza, Starfield, big RPG now. I mean, I get they've got Fallout and stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like Xbox need a big story-driven game, like we have God of War on PlayStation or Last of Us, or which I've got a Last of Us T-shirt on right now. Spider-Man, which is not their fault, but you know what I mean. Xbox needs that big title to be like, oh, you can only play that here. And we know, maybe that's another discussion for another day, that Xbox don't really care about that kind of thing, but gamers do. And I am looking forward to this game and hoping that Xbox can pull out all the stops here and make a fantastic video game. They're the main games. Others that I'm interested in but aren't going to be buying day one are Astrobot, the 3D platformer, from PlayStation. I really enjoyed Astro's Playroom when it come free on the PlayStation 5 as like pre-installed. Really enjoyed that, platinumed it. This looks cool. It looks a lot more but bigger and better than the tech demo that was on the PS5. I just can't bring myself to buy it. Even if it gets 10 out of 10s, I just can't bring myself to buy it yet at full price. Because I just think it's a one and done game for me, and £60 is quite a lot for me for that kind of thing, especially when so many games come to services now. Yeah, it's just a lot for me. But the other game is Undisputed, and Undisputed is a boxing game. I've been crying out for a Fight Night-like game for a long time now. I actually played Fight Night Champion last year just to replay that, but Fight Night 3, Fight Night Round 4, and Fight Night Champion, fantastic games, fantastic boxing games. This one here looks good. Graphically, it's going to be incredible. I will wait for reviews on this. If it comes out and it's actually like, oh my god, this is it, this is a fantastic boxing game, then I'll probably get this. If it comes out and it's like, it's a good attempt, but it's not that great, I'll wait for a big sale or for it to come to a service. But it's one to keep your eye on if you like boxing, video games. Undisputed looks really good. I can't remember the date that comes out. Astrobot is September sometime. Undisputed is probably September, October. But yeah, that's my list of anticipated games for the year. 2024 is a bit of a lull year for games, especially after last year. But there's still, as you can tell, some good games coming out this year. And I'm excited for them. Let me know in the comments or on Spotify, everywhere you can get in touch with me. What are you most anticipating? Is there a game that I haven't mentioned that you're most anticipating? I'm trying to think of Assassin's Creed Shadows, maybe, like I said. I can't think of anything else coming out this year off the top of my head, but let me know what you think. Do you think I'm crazy for looking forward to these games I'm looking forward to? I'm sure that you're looking forward to them as well. Is there something I'm missing, basically? Is there something that I should be keeping my eye out for? Let me know. So that's the end of topic of the week. Let's move on to what I've been up to. I should probably get a better name for this section, but that's what I've been up to. Video games wise, basically the same as last time. The last 3 weeks I've been just playing Mortal Kombat 1, playing EA Sports FC. Actually, tell a lie, last night I played, not a new game, but me and my good friend Andy played Trials Rising, the BMX game. This game came out in 2019, so we're well late to the party, but we played quite a few races against each other last night online. When we searched for ranked matches, we only got like one person ever join us at a time, and they were normally much better than us, but a lot of the time it was just me and Andy in races, and it's a really fun time. Trials, I used to play the Trials games on Xbox 360. Playing it again brought back a lot of memories, but it's a really fun game. The physics can be quite frustrating at times. Sometimes I feel like the bike has a mind of its own, but once you get the hang of it, it is really fun to play, and I definitely intend on playing more with Andy and on my own on Trials Rising. So I've been playing that. I've been playing, as I said, Mortal Kombat 1, EA Sports FC. I think that's it. I don't think I've even touched X Defiance since last week, or even Alien, because I just haven't found the time to. I beat the Mortal Kombat story this week, Mortal Kombat 1. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun. It's just a typical Hollywood blockbuster kind of story. I quite like the last chapter where you get to pick your own character from the whole, I hope that's not a spoiler, from the whole cast of characters, and then just do the chapter with them. I think that's a pretty cool way of doing it, actually. But yeah, other than that, I haven't been playing much. I need to get back into single player games but every time I turn on PlayStation at the moment, I'm like, let's have a few games of Mortal Kombat. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Movies wise, I think last time I told you I'm watching the Alien series. I can't remember what I last watched. I don't think I had watched Predators. I watched Predators last week. That's actually a fun movie. I actually really quite enjoyed that one. Probably is it better than Predator 2? I don't think it's quite good as Predator 2. But Predators is a good film. I enjoyed it quite a lot. And then I watched Prometheus, and I really enjoyed Prometheus. I think from memory, it got quite a lot of slack, but I enjoyed it. I think it's a good film. I know it's not a proper alien film in terms of you don't see the xenomorph, but I think it's a pretty good film. I enjoyed my whole time watching it. The whole time I'm sitting there thinking, I'm waiting for this to get boring or waiting for this to get bad. There's a couple of things I didn't like, but most of it is I found it really good. Next on the list in terms of that series is Alien Covenant, which I'll probably watch this weekend or soon, and then The Predator, which I've heard very bad things about, and then Prey, which I've heard very good things about. So 3 films left in the Alien Predator world, and then Alien Romulus when it comes out in cinemas in August. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to, guys? Let me know what you've been up to. Let me know what games you're most anticipating and what you think of Elden Ring. Have you played it, or should I play it? Let me know. Always really appreciate any interactions that you guys give me. I read all the comments. I listen to everything. So thank you so much. And that is going to be it. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Late Night Gamer podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Currently, next week's episode will be a review of a video game. That's on hold. It might be that, it might be a different topic, but currently the plan is to review a game next week. I haven't started this game yet, so there's a good chance it won't happen, but there's time. I could definitely try and squeeze it in. So yeah, look forward to that one, whatever the topic is. Once again, if you would like to subscribe or follow the podcast on your favorite podcast service, it'd be very much appreciated, or of course on YouTube. Be sure to follow me on Twitter or X, and Instagram and Threads using the handle @WelchyTV_ or @the LNG pod. Send in your questions and obviously anything you want to mention about this episode that I brought up, and I will try and talk about it all next week on next week's episode. Thanks again for listening to the Late Night Gamer podcast, and keep on gaming.